For chilling tales from the life of a delivery driver delivering food might seem like a straightforward gig pickup, drop off, repeat. For me, it's a job that fits around my life, offering flexibility and enough cash to keep the bills paid. Most days, it's uneventful. A blur of fast food bags, suburban doorsteps, and the occasional quirky customer. But every so often, something happens that turns the mundane into a nightmare. These are 4 stories from my years as a delivery driver, each one a reminder that danger can lurk behind the simplest of orders. The dinner rush was in full swing. The app on my phone buzzing with orders as I darted across town. It was around 7:30 p.m., the sky already cloaked in darkness. When I picked up a delivery from an upscale Italian restaurant, the order was fancier than my usual fare: pasta primavera, a caprese salad, and a slice of tiramisu, all neatly packed in a thermal bag. The destination was a quiet, well-kept neighborhood where manicured lawns and polished SUVs lined the streets. The house itself was charming, with a glowing porch light and ivy creeping up the brick facade. It looked like the kind of place where nothing bad could happen. I parked my beat-up sedan, grabbed the bag, and approached the front door, the scent of garlic and basil wafting from the food. After a quick knock, the door swung open almost instantly. A man in his mid-30s stood there, his smile wide and unnervingly enthusiastic. He was dressed in a crisp button-down shirt, his hair neatly combed. But his eyes gleamed with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Hey, you're fast," he said, his voice dripping with exaggerated warmth. "Thanks for getting this here so quick. Busy night, huh?" "Yeah, it's hectic," I replied, offering a polite smile as I handed him the bag. His fingers brushed mine as he took it, lingering just a second too long. Instead of stepping back inside, he leaned against the doorframe, clutching the bag. "You've got a great voice, you know that? Ever thought about doing radio or voiceovers?" The compliment caught me off guard. I let out a nervous chuckle. Just sticking to deliveries for now." "You should consider it," he pressed, his smile never wavering. "You've got the kind of voice that sticks with people." I mumbled a thanks and turned to leave, eager to get back to my car. The interaction felt off, like a conversation that had veered into uncharted territory. But I brushed it aside. Just another weird customer, I told myself. I finished my shift, the encounter fading into the background of a long night. The next day, everything changed. I was lounging at home, scrolling through my phone, when a notification popped up from a dating app I hadn't touched in months. A new message, curious. I opened it and my stomach dropped. The profile picture was unmistakable. It was him, the overly friendly customer from the night before. His message was short but chilling. "Hey, didn't we meet last night?" Mind raced. I hadn't given him my name, my number, or any personal details. My dating profile didn't even have a clear photo of my face, just a blurry shot of me hiking, my sunglasses hiding most of my features. How had he found me? Was it a lucky guess? A coincidence? I decided to ignore the message, hoping he'd lose interest. He didn't. Over the next few days, the messages kept coming, each one more insistent than the last. "You seem cool. Want to grab a drink sometime? Don't ignore me. I know you saw this. Why are you pretending we didn't meet?" The words sent a chill down my spine. I checked my social media accounts and found a follow request on Instagram from the same guy. My account was private, but his message was waiting. "You really need to work on being more approachable." I blocked him immediately, my heart pounding. But it wasn't enough. 2 days later, a Facebook message appeared. "Why are you ignoring me? Thought we had a connection." Every block seemed to push him to find another way in. My unease turned to dread, a heavy weight that followed me everywhere. Then, one night during another delivery shift, I noticed a car trailing me. It was subtle at first, just a pair of headlights keeping pace a few cars back. I told myself, I was paranoid, but when I took a series of random turns to test it, the car stayed with me. My blood ran cold when I recognized the make and model it matched the vehicle in his dating profile pictures. I pulled into a busy gas station, my hands trembling as I pretended to check my phone. The car idled across the street, its driver hidden in the shadows. After a few agonizing minutes, it drove off, but the fear lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching, waiting the next morning. I confided in my brother, a nonsense guy with a protective streak. His face darkened as I recounted the story, the messages, the car. "Oh, that's not normal," he said, his voice tight. "You're not doing deliveries alone until this is sorted." Relief mixed with apprehension. I was grateful for his support, but I worried he'd take matters into his own hands. That night, he insisted on riding along. His presence was a comfort, though the tension in the car was palpable. As we drove past the same gas station from the night before, I spotted the car again, parked near the pumps. My stomach lurched. "That's him, isn't it?" my brother said, already unbuckling his seatbelt. "Don't," I pleaded, grabbing his arm. "Let's go to the police instead." He hesitated, his jaw clenched, but finally nodded. We drove straight to the police station, where I poured out the whole story to an officer. My brother chimed in, his voice steady but laced with anger. The officer's expression grew serious as he took notes. "You did the right thing coming here," he said. "We'll look into it." Filing the report felt like a small victory, but the fear didn't vanish. My brother stayed over that night, and I barely slept, my mind racing with what-ifs. Over the next few days, I tightened my social media privacy settings, changed my handles, and started sharing my location with my brother during late shifts. I avoided the neighborhood where the man lived, taking longer routes to steer clear of any chance encounter. Weeks passed, and the messages stopped. I don't know if the police scared him off or if he moved on to someone else, but the silence was both a relief and a haunting reminder of how vulnerable this job can make you. What started as a way to pay off credit card debt had turned into a lesson in survival. The world felt a little darker after that, and every delivery carried a new weight of caution. It was a Friday night, and I was ready to call it quits after a long shift. The app had been relentless, sending me from one end of the city to the other. Just as I was about to log off, a high-ticket order popped up with a generous tip attached. The payout was too good to pass up, even though the address was in an industrial park about 15 minutes away. I figured it was someone working late at a factory or warehouse, a common enough scenario. I accepted the order and hit the road. The city's bright lights faded as I drove deeper into the industrial area. The streets grew quieter, the buildings older and more dilapidated. Graffiti-covered walls and shattered windows loomed under flickering streetlights, casting eerie shadows. My GPS guided me down a narrow road, the asphalt cracked and uneven. When it announced, "You have arrived," I found myself staring at a crumbling warehouse, its facade a patchwork of rusted metal and broken glass. No lights, no cars, no signs of life. The address matched the app, but every instinct screamed that something was wrong. I parked a safe distance from the building, my headlights cutting through the darkness. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the faint hum of my engine. I debated canceling the order, but the thought of losing the tip hand, my ratang, kept me there. I decided to call the customer. The phone rang endlessly, each unanswered tone tightening the knot in my stomach. As I hung up, movement caught my eye. At the edge of the warehouse, shadowy figures stood motionless, their silhouettes barely visible. In the dark, my heart pounded. Were they watching me? I locked my doors, my eyes fixed on the figures. There were at least 3, maybe more, their faces obscured. One stepped forward into the beam of my headlights, a tall man with no shirt, his jeans hanging loosely. A bandana covered the lower half of his face, leaving only his eyes visible, glinting with intent. I fumbled with my phone to cancel the order, my fingers clumsy with panic. Before I could hit send, a low rumble filled the air. In my rearview mirror, a trail motorcycle roared up behind me, its headlight bouncing wildly. The rider, helmeted with a dark visor, skidded to a stop, blocking my path. My chest tightened. The figures by the warehouse were moving now, closing in on my car. The rider revved his engine, leaning forward as if daring me to move. I shifted into drive, hoping to inch forward, but the figures were too close. There. Masked faces looming in the darkness. One reached into his pocket, and my mind screamed gun. I didn't wait to find out. Slamming the car into reverse, I floored it. My bumper hit the motorcycle, sending it skidding. The rider tumbled off, rolling over my hood and hitting the ground with a thud. I didn't stop to check if he was okay. I threw the car into drive and sped out of a lot, tires screeching. The figures ran after me, one raising an arm as if to aim something. I didn't look back. My heart raced as I hit the main road, the warehouse shrinking in my rearview mirror. I called 911, my voice shaking as I explained the ambush. The dispatcher instructed me to head to the nearest police station, and I didn't stop until I was parked under its bright lights. Inside, I spilled the story to a pair of officers, my words tumbling out in a rush. They inspected the dent on my bumper and promised to investigate. A few days later, an officer called with an update. The warehouse was a known hub for a gang running a car theft ring. They'd been luring delivery drivers with fake orders, planning to rob them and steal their vehicles. The officer praised my quick thinking, but the words felt hollow. The damage to my car cost me months of savings, and the memory of those masked figures haunted my dreams. I swore off deliveries to industrial areas after that. No tip is worth risking your life. My gut had tried to warn me, and I'd ignored it. Never again. Most nights, delivering food is a solitary job, and I like it that way. Drop off the order, exchange a few words, and move on. Efficiency is my mantra. One evening, around 8 p.m., I was cruising through a steady stream of Deliveries pizza, burgers, the usual. The app pinged with a new order, a large pepperoni pizza and a 6-pack of soda. Headed to a suburban neighborhood with wide lawns and quiet streets. It was a routine drop-off, or so I thought. The house was unremarkable. A single story with a neatly trimmed hedge and a porch light casting a warm glow. I grabbed the insulated bag, checked the name I planned, rang the doorbell. The door opened a crack, revealing a man in his mid-40s with a trim beard and a smile that seemed too eager for a simple pizza delivery. His eyes locked onto mine, unblinking, right on time. He said, his voice overly cheerful. He opened the door wider, taking the bag with one hand while keeping the other on the door. "Here's your order," I said, ready to head back to my car. "Hang on," he said, his smile tightening. "I've got a tip for you. Come inside for a second while I grab my wallet." I hesitated. "No need. You can just hand it to me here." "It'll just take a moment," he insisted, his tone still friendly, but with an edge. "It's right there on the kitchen counter." "Company policy," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'm not supposed to go inside." His smile flickered, and for a moment, his eyes narrowed. "Come on, don't be weird about it. It's just a tip." I took a step back, my instincts screaming to leave. "Thanks, but I'm good." He pushed the door open wider, revealing a dimly lit hallway that seemed to swallow the light. "Look, I'm trying to be nice here," he said, his voice dropping to a low, insistent tone. "Do you want the tip or not?" Before I could respond, he grabbed my arm. His grip wasn't painful, but it was firm enough to send a jolt of fear through me. "Just step inside," he said, his smile gone. I yanked my arm free, stumbling back onto the porch. I said no. I snapped, louder than intended. Adrenaline surged, and I turned to bolt for my car. He followed me onto the porch, his demeanor shifting to something colder. "No need to be rude," he called after me, his voice dripping with mockery. "Have a good night." I didn't look back. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and peeled out of the driveway. His mock salute lingered in my mind as I put distance between us. I pulled over a few blocks away, my hands shaking as I reported the incident to the delivery app. They flagged the customer's account and thanked me for the report, but it did little to ease the knot in my chest. The next day, I couldn't shake the memory of his grip, his forced smile, the way the hallway seemed to beckon me inside. I confided in a friend who's a police officer, expecting him to brush it off. Instead, he urged me to file a report. "That's not just creepy, it's dangerous," he said. "If he's bold enough to grab you, he's done it before." At the police station, I recounted the encounter, my voice steadier than I felt. The officer's expression grew grim as I described the man's behavior. "You're not the first," he said. "We've had 2 other complaints tied to that address. Harassment, inappropriate behavior. We're building a case, but we haven't charged him yet." The revelation hit me like a punch. This wasn't a one-off, it was a pattern. The officer asked if I'd be willing to testify if the case went to court. The thought of facing that man again made my skin crawl, but I agreed. If my statement could stop him from targeting someone else, it was worth it. I left the station with a mix of relief and dread. The encounter had shattered the illusion of safety in my job. Every doorbell, every stranger, now carried a hint of menace. I was lucky to walk away, but the knowledge that he was still out there, with other complaints against him, lingered like a shadow. 7 years as a delivery driver had taught me to expect the unexpected. From customers in towels to houses, so cluttered I could barely find the door. I thought I'd seen it all. But one night, around 10:30 p.m., I got a delivery that redefined strange and left me questioning whether I'd ever do. Late night runs again. The order was simple: 2 burritos and a side of chips, headed to an apartment complex across town. The app noted to leave it at the door of Building 4, Unit 117. The complex was a maze of identical buildings, poorly lit and eerily quiet. After circling twice, I found Building 4 tucked in the back, its entrance half hidden by an overgrown tree. A black sedan sat at the far edge of the lot, its presence barely registering as I parked and grabbed the bag. Unit 117 was down a dark stairwell, the kind that felt like it could swallow you whole. I set the bag on the doormat, snapped a photo for the app, and turned to leave. That's when I felt it's the unmistakable sensation of eyes on me. My gaze flicked to the black sedan. It was closer now, just a few spaces from my car. The windows were tinted, but I swore I saw movement inside. I hurried to my car, locking the doors as I slid inside. My phone buzzed with a new order, but before I could accept it, a car door clicked open nearby. A man in a hoodie approached, his face obscured by the drawn strings. His footsteps were slow, deliberate, echoing in the quiet lot. My stomach churned. As he knocked on my passenger window, his fingers splayed against the glass. "Can I help you?" I asked, cracking the window just enough to hear him. "I missed my bus," he said, his voice calm but unsettling. "Can you give me a ride? Just a few miles." "Sorry, I'm working," I said, keeping my tone firm. "Can't do that." He leaned closer, his other hand gripping the window frame. "Come on, it's late. I'm stuck. I can't." I repeated, my heart racing. His expression hardened. "You sure about that?" He slapped the hood of my car, the sound sharp in the stillness. "Don't be a jerk." I started to back out, but he forced the passenger window down, the glass sliding open with a groan. Behind me, The black sedan's engine roared to life, its headlights flooding my rearview mirror as it rolled forward, blocking my escape. Another figure emerged from the sedan, his face shadowed by a hood. "Just get out," the first man said, his tone now menacing. "We just want to talk." I gripped the steering wheel, my mind racing. He started climbing through the window, his torso. Halfway inside, in a panic, I slammed the horn, the blaring sound shattering the night. He winced, but kept coming, snarling. "Knock it off, or you'll regret it." Before he could get further, the door to Unit 117 burst open. A burly, shirtless man stormed out, his voice booming. "Hey, drop it. He's just delivering my food. Let him go." The man in my car froze, glancing back. The second figure hesitated, then retreated to the sedan. They sped off, their taillights vanishing into the night. My rescuer jogged over, his expression softening. "You okay?" I nodded, my hands still. Shaking, "Thanks," I managed. "You probably saved me." "Report this," he said. Those guys have been hanging around too much. I drove to a gas station, my nerves frayed, and reported the incident to the app. The next day, I shared the story with other drivers, warning them about the complex. I felt guilty knowing innocent residents might struggle to get deliveries, but the risk was too great. That night taught me to trust my instincts, lock my doors, and never underestimate the power of a loud horn or a stranger's kindness. These experiences changed how I approach my job. I used to see deliveries as a simple way to make extra cash, a gig that fit around my life. Now, I see the risks that come with it. Every order is a roll of the dice, a chance to encounter someone who might see you as more than just a driver. I've learned to trust my gut, vary my routes, and keep my doors locked. I share my location with family during late shifts and avoid unfamiliar areas after dark. Delivering food might seem routine, but these stories are a reminder that danger can hide behind any door. If you're a driver, stay vigilant. If you're a customer, a little kindness goes a long way, but always keep it professional. And if your instincts tell you something's off, don't ignore them. Sometimes that gut feeling is the only thing standing between you and a nightmare.